Hi, I'm Kim Wilson,
And I'm Natasha Marchewka.
and this is Speechless. Welcome to our behind-the-scenes take on real life in VO, where we share our stories, our resources, and our what are they?
Solicited.
I was going to say
Unsolicited.
undeniable opinions. That
Nobody
works.
asked us. That's the idea.
Well, welcome everyone to today's show. Our guest today, let me just read two little factoids. Worked as a NASA space camp counselor
Mm.
and was featured on the label of Provo Girl Pilsner. Hello?
She's
And
our,
can I say
yeah,
girl crush?
she's our new girl crush. Oh my gosh. The very
What?
first thing she ever booked, was a Star Wars video game.
I wish we could say that. Same.
We really enjoyed our time with Marie Westbrook. Have a listen.
Speechless. Speechless.
Hello.
Oh my
Hi.
gosh.
Twice in
You
1
and your
week.
matching booths.
I know. Twice in 1 week. How lucky am
I know,
I?
right?
Right.
Especially considering it's really the first time it is twice in 1 week.
Yeah.
Right.
Got to connect, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you
Manageable.
for coming on the show today. We have been like counting the days
Yeah,
until you
me
could
too.
be a guest for sure, for sure. Did you bring a drink?
I did. It's not a fun one, but I mean
It's
it is fun.
okay.
It's an
It's
iced tea
okay.
concoction. It can pretend. I know.
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah, tell us your drink and
It's
we'll
an
do a
iced
cheers.
tea and I put a splash of lemonade, like a flavored lemonade.
Ooh, it's like an
An
Arnold
Arnold Palmer.
It's an Arnold Palmer, but it's very, very light on the sweet. Like it,
Mm.
like
Yep.
in this high, I would put like
You go
this
boop.
much. Yeah. I
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
like it sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Same.
nice.
How about
Well,
you guys?
it's afternoon here. I got a
Oh,
margarita.
yes.
I got a
I'm
margarita.
I'm a fan of the
Haven't
margarita.
been doing many alcoholic drinks lately,
Yes.
but
It's
I
time. This
succumbed.
week is time. I had a
Succumbed.
couple glasses of
Yeah.
wine the other day.
Yeah. And I have
that's
a recess,
Oh,
calm
yes. I have some of
mood,
those.
raspberry lemon. Kim usually brings them, but I've been bringing them now.
Yeah, so cheers. Thanks to
Cheers.
coming on.
Cheers. Thanks for
Mm.
having me.
Hey.
Mm-hmm. That's hitting.
Mm.
Good.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice,
Good. Yeah,
people.
what time
That's
is it? So
nice.
are you on East Coast time?
I'm in Boston at
Oh, yeah.
4 p.m.
Yeah, it's 4 p.m. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Boston.
Boston.
Marie, please tell us about your VO journey. I don't know how many
Yes.
times you've told this story, but we would love
I
to hear.
mean, yeah, I know sometimes I feel like, oh, you guys have all heard it, but clearly not everybody's heard it.
No.
So my VO journey started, I guess I can say that it actually started sort of right after college. When I randomly was like online looking for just a job. It might have even, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, it had to have been after college. And I was a fill-in traffic reporter for a local radio station, an AM radio station. So I was
Mhm.
doing that. So I was doing that and I enjoyed that a lot. And then, but I had gone to school to get my physics and chemistry education. I was a teacher. And I went and worked at space camp because I graduated
Mm.
in
Space
December.
camp. You were a space camp teacher?
I was a space
That's
camp
very cool.
counselor. Yes.
So cool.
That is like a rando factoid that, like, what do you know about Marie?
Oh, that's a
Space camp.
super,
Like, I love it.
to the point where this is something I've never said. When I first moved out to LA, I was on a game show called Identity. And the whole point of the game is the contestant has to match up the job or whatever it was with the person. Like
Yeah.
Tony Hawk was on there, and Tony Hawk's thing that he was matched up with was building a roller coaster. There was also Lil Jon was there, but my thing was matched with Space Camp Counselor, and the contestant got out on me because he guessed wrong.
Wah,
For
wah.
mine.
So does that mean you won?
I didn't win because I was kind of like,
The
Mm.
person
wasn't
in
the contestant,
right.
I was part of the game.
The
you know what I
game.
mean?
Yeah,
The
right.
panel.
Yeah, there was like 20 of
Right.
us or something. So,
Right. Did you want
um,
him to win or did you not want him to win?
I
That's
mean, I think the whole goal when you're there is you want to stump them.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't remember if they asked questions. I can't remember.
Now,
But
gosh, you don't have a recording of it?
no,
Come
I
on.
don't.
That would be
So
It was a
helpful.
fun.
long
I'm
time
gonna
ago,
look it
first of
up.
all.
No, I
I would
promise I
love,
won't.
I wonder if I could find it. I don't know.
Identity.
I would actually really love to find it. Little Marie,
Yeah.
That'd be
little new LA
hilarious.
Marie.
Yeah.
So I was a space camp counselor. I went back, taught school in Salt Lake City. I'm from Idaho originally. I went to Utah State, which is in right on the Idaho-Utah border. And then I lived in Salt Lake, and I was in downtown Salt Lake. It was a pretty, I mean, there were 26 uh languages at the school. It was a
Wow.
very diverse, it was a tough, and I taught eighth grade. It was
Oh
Mm,
not
my
for the faint of heart.
gosh.
And I
The
was like
worst
boy.
21.
year of everybody's life, that's the
Yeah.
one you taught? We're all in therapy, by the way,
That's the
for what
worst.
happened to us in 8th grade.
I
Just
know.
want you to know.
I remember feeling bad for my eighth grade teacher when I was in eighth grade, thinking, yes, she has to deal with these morons. Like, because everybody's so crazy. But
And you became one.
yes, and then oh yeah, but it was short-lived. Granted, there's some great kids, and honestly, they're not that much younger than me. So they're all, living their
Right.
lives like with
Oh
kids
my
and
gosh.
stuff. Yeah, that was because I was so young. And the first day, I remember the secretary went to register me as a student when I went to the office. I'm like, no, I'm a teacher.
Oh.
So you come in, Miss Westbrook. I remember the first day I was going through the list of names, which was an ordeal because there's also a big Polynesian population there. So it was
Okay.
like Tuliki Hihifo, all these different
Oh
names,
my
right? And then of course the Hispanic last names, the Latin last names, and I was going through all of them, and I remember I don't remember who or how many, but I just remember them chiming in every once in a while, being like, "Oh, I think he's locked up," and like just,
God.
I was like, "Oh, good, great,"
Oh no.
Here I
Oh, I
am.
get it. I get it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, huh, oh, I get it.
Oh.
Oh, okay. And also, you don't know if you, who knows if the kid really is, but it can
Yeah.
be
Right.
tough. They're in eighth grade. They're like, this is
Right. And you
social
being a
time.
new teacher are like, oh, okay, next.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, so
that's
after
cute.
that, in the midst of that in college, I had a little, I had somebody approach me in my little small town of Idaho, but it was a family friend about modeling, which I remember I was like, what? What? Yeah, there was never even
Yeah.
none of this life was a blip on the radar. And I ended up doing some of that. I think their daughter was out in LA and ended up coming out to LA for a very short time in the summer. It was a little too it was too much. I wanted to go back. I wanted to get back to my finishing college. And it was a big it was a culture shock going from this
Yeah.
tiny, small,
Mm-hmm.
conservative, religious town to big LA. And I remember I was living in Orange County at the time, but I definitely kind of did some things. And that's when I got into acting. And sort of in the mix of that, I got into acting. Then I went back to school and then got into it again in between everything, was sort of taking classes here and there, and I enjoyed it. And then in the midst of teaching, I said, I remember thinking like I could, because I was still waiting tables when I was teaching school on the weekends because
Mm-hmm.
I was not making any money
Because you're
Right.
a
because
teacher,
we don't
right?
pay teachers, right?
Right.
So I thought, I can just be waiting tables at Macaroni Grill three
Mm-hmm.
or
Me
4 days a
too.
week, make
Mm-hmm.
the same amount of money I'm making, and pursue other things that are interesting to me, like
Mm-hmm.
acting. And so that's what I did. I got my SAG card working on it was a Showtime film. It was a pilot that ended up just being a movie with like David Strathairn and Kirk Acevedo. And that was my scene was, can I get you anything? Perfect. I had trained all my life for that scene. I nailed it.
Like, there I am,
And
there I am, there
yeah.
I am. Mom. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was so excited about and they were so nice. And I remember David Strathairn running into him on I was up just visiting the set another day while they were still filming, I had the one line. And before that I'd worked as a stand-in, so I knew the crew really well and they were really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
They all got behind Video Village to watch me when I was doing my one scene, like, "Go Marie," which
Aw.
was really sweet. But anyway, David Strathairn, I remember him saying, "Oh, let's hope this does well and gets picked up because we're definitely going to need our like local waitress," which was right, probably not going to happen if they got picked up. But the fact that he said that, knowing that that would mean the world to me if that happened, was
Right.
very
Yeah.
sweet and very thoughtful,
Yes.
and I'll never forget that.
Yes.
So
And maybe he started out there too, and
yeah,
so he knows. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'll never forget that. And so
Oh,
after that, I just sort of bailed on that life, and I moved up to Seattle. I had some family and friends up there, and it was kind of it was sort of an interim place, and I was up there, and I got an on-camera agent up there, but there's not a lot happening in Seattle as far as film goes, and but I got a voiceover audition from my agent there. It
Mm.
was for Nintendo Nintendogs. It was for a game trailer. And I remember thinking, wait, what? How do I do this? This is in 2005. It's like, how do I even get this done? Like, I have to, and
Mm.
I was planning to move to LA in 2 weeks. So
Okay.
it was something where I can't, honestly, to this day, I can't believe I actually put in the effort to do it. It would have been so easy to just say, "Ah, what, like, what? No, I'm
Mhm.
leaving. There's no way I'm going to book this. I had to track down a friend of a friend to record it for me. He had like a makeshift setup in his house and he directed me and put it on a CD and I had to drive it over. I had to figure
Oh
out, I
my
remember how to
gosh.
get it. There was something I had to do with that CD. I don't remember exactly, but it was
Your
hard for my,
audition was on a CD
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
driving your audition. Let's just like everyone take this in. You're
yeah.
driving your audition to where?
To your agent?
To my
Your agent.
agent,
Mhm.
who I think was like in Bellevue or something, like just outside,
Mhm.
in Seattle metropolis, and thinking like, oh, like I remember feeling so stressed because I had so much to do and like, there's no way I'm ever going to book this anyway. Why am I doing this? And I'm like, okay, well, it's done. And then I got a call a week or two right before I left saying that
Mhm.
I booked it. And I remember thinking, are they
What does
sure?
that mean?
Was that meant, is that a mistake? And I went in and recorded. It was great because I had this money to take with me to LA.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
I got into LA and sort of hustled my first, I knew nobody,
Mm.
nobody. And I
Oh,
walked from La Brea and Sunset, which is kind of where my apartment was at that time, all the way down, if any of you know LA, all the way down that Sunset Strip, all the way down to the Key Club. It's far.
Mhm.
Passing out my resume, trying to get a job. And I got a job that day at a place called Cravings. It was just this little shop. I remember I ran into like I waited tables to every Robin Thicke, Laura Linney, all these celebrities that would come in there. They were all very
Right.
lovely. But that wasn't that was I was there for a few months and then I booked a movie because I was still doing on-camera work. I got a movie that I very coincidentally had to go back to Salt Lake to film. So, but I was
Oh
getting
my
paid
gosh.
to be on location there,
Oh my
and
gosh.
then that agent, that same agent that sort of helped. Basically, they signed me because I booked that movie, but
Mhm.
then I got a video game audition from them, from an on-camera agent,
Mhm.
theatrical agent, and
wow.
it was for Star Wars: The Old Republic. And I said, I was like, okay, whatever. I went in and I recorded it, and then and then my agent called me and he said, "So remember that Star Wars thing you went in for? Yeah, they want you to come in and read for that." But that's how he said it. So I sat there. I was like, "So did I book it?" Yeah. He said, "Yeah, you should consider getting a voiceover agent," which I had considered. But I was told like, "Oh, it's so sad. You don't want to do that." My
Oh
manager
my gosh.
was like, who I love, I'm still friends with, but he was like, "You don't want to do that. It's so saturated. You don't want to worry about that." And
And
then
what year
it was
was
so
that?
hard. When was that? That was probably
It was the next year, so like
2008,
2006. Oh, so it
2000.
was a couple years later. You booked your next
Yeah, it
one.
was a year or so later. Might have been 2007. It took a long time. It was 3 years of recording on that game before it was released. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it was something around that. But I remember I tried to get an agent. There was a voiceover department in that agency. It was called Diverse.
Mm.
And Ference Lasco, who is now at SBV, was well, it wasn't him at first. It was somebody else. I don't know. But she would not take me on. I was like, really? Like I booked two
Right.
things ever that I've ever even had auditions for.
Right.
Obviously, it was just a
Two
good,
out of two.
yeah, the universe pushing me in the right direction. I mean, I learned after that you don't book every audition you get, but
Right.
I still, it was hard. And so so she left the department and then Ference came in and he immediately brought me in. And then when he left Diverse, because Diverse totally crumbled, um, he took me to Independent Artists, which is where he was, this little boutique agency. Uh, and I was there for a while. Leah Swetsky was there as well.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was like early on, right? And then I ended up going to Atlas. Like the whole chain, there's a whole chain of events, a whole different story, but I ended up going to Atlas right before he went to SBV. I didn't know he was going to SBV.
Mm.
He
Mhm.
didn't really tell me, but whatever. I think we're both where we need to be, and he was such a support behind me, and the rest
Oh,
is history. So like I
shout
definitely booked
out.
some things with him before moving, and so that's how I got into voiceover. It was certainly never even in the realm of my,
Do you
Wow.
think it was your acting, your history, and your education in acting that helped you book the things you've booked back then and now today? Do you think that is an essential key piece for all voice actors?
I definitely think that helped me on, you know, in
Yeah.
listening. Yeah, I mean, for sure. And feeling comfortable just sort of going into a character. Because I remember I
Yeah.
created this character that for the Star Wars audition, I didn't book what I auditioned for, but I
Oh,
booked something
okay.
else. He got me,
Wow.
which it was a major character. Um, and yeah, I definitely think that that had to do with it. I felt comfortable. I don't know how I did, honestly. I guess I didn't know what I was doing. But when I actually recorded Star Wars, I was so nervous the whole time
Oh
because
my gosh.
it was so new and I knew it was really
Yeah.
big and I was like, but am I doing
Yeah.
it right? Is every, I don't know. And and I think it was fine. And Will Beckman was the director on that. He was so lovely and kind and was like, you're doing wonderful. And so, but I
Were
was
you able to
nervous.
see other people perform their roles, or was it one at a time? So you kind of got a
Yeah.
feel for like, oh, well, he messed up on that line, so I think it's okay to like, stutter
No.
on this line.
Yeah, no,
You had to
all
do it all in
individual.
a vacuum. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, no wonder you were so nervous.
Was nervous. I mean, Will was a great director and would read me into things, and it's Star Wars. There was a lot of
Yeah.
lingo in there that's like blah, 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 talk that we're not used to, different worlds, and Coruscant and all these different worlds. So I would trip over some things sometimes, but yeah,
Oh wow.
like it
Fantastic.
was. I mean, it's definitely a great beginning, and
And
that's
that's
when
when you were in your
I thought I need to take classes. So I did start taking classes right after that. I'm like, I really like
Mm,
this. Yeah.
wow.
cool.
Wow.
Hi, we're just popping in with our speechless promo to tell you about our sponsors and to tell you about something else.
Woo!
So, one of our sponsors is The Vorg. The Vorg is the voiceover resource guide. You can find them online at thevorg.net or voiceoverresourceguide.com. However, they have hard copies or soft copies, if you will, of the Vorg around town, certainly in LA, but they have them all over the United States. Check out their website for sure. Another website to check out and another sponsor we're really happy with is VoiceOver Extra. That's extra without the E. They have a ton of webinars and blog posts for you to learn everything you need to know about voiceover. Also, a sponsor, VA for VO. That's voiceover adjacent business resources. So if you are a talent, but you have other talents, then you can get paid by talent who need your services. And
Such as, let's give an example, such as
yeah,
social media. If you
right,
need someone to help you with social media, if you need somebody to help you with accounting, if you need somebody to help you with just filing your auditions,
emails, yeah, all kinds of things.
emails.
And then our final sponsor for this season is Bodalgo, one of our favorite online casting platforms. You can find them at bodalgo.com. One more thing we want to pop in and let you know that we have our voiceover career
Woo!
planner. It's
There it is.
half day timer, which means you'll see Monday through Friday, and a weekly matrix so you can plan your week, but also writing cues about goals, resources in the back, tongue twisters, all kinds of yummy things that you can find at speechlessvo.com. We have an ebook version and a hard copy version. That's speechlessvo.com. Now back to the show.
Okay, so rando question. Apparently, you and I are connected through your husband.
Yeah.
Tell the story. I'm dying to hear. You said you wouldn't
Okay,
tell it
this is such
until
a
we
great
got a.
story. I've told this story to other people, and when I went out and I was like, "Hey, do you happen to know John? John, right? Is your
Yeah,
dad John
my dad is
Silvestri?"
John. Yeah,
And he was like,
Sylvester.
"Yeah, that's the guy, the Starbucks guy." And I know this story. So Greg, my husband, played. He's from Boston area, just
Ah,
outside of Boston, and he played football for University of Miami back in the day, and that's where he went to college. He has a dual engineering degree. And then he moved up to New York, fresh out of college, and was looking for a job. He was at a Starbucks, spilled coffee on somebody named John,
oh my
and was like,
gosh.
"Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And he happened to be holding the classified ads. And so then your dad was like, oh, very kind. He was like, don't
He
worry.
better have been nice.
But, huh?
He better have been
Yeah,
nice.
yes, he was very nice. He was like, "Oh, don't worry." And then he's like, "What do you do? What kind of job?" And just sort of chatting him up. What are you looking for? And he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a job." He said, "Well, what's your experience?" And he told him, engineering degree. And he said, "Well, in my experience, people that are really good with that sort of thing and statistics and whatever are really good at sales. Are you familiar with ad sales?" And Greg said, "Well, I he'd been in sales because his dad owned his own jewelry company." And he's like, "Yeah, I know someone who sells, but I haven't been in the ad sales world. But yeah, I'm definitely interested." And he's like, "Well, hi, nice to meet you. Like, I'm John Silvestri, like, what, president of USA Networks, right?
Vice president, yeah.
Vice
Oh
president."
my
And he's like,
gosh.
"Do you want to come try it out?" And that's where he started.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God.
Isn't
That
that
is the best
crazy?
story ever. And it like
Wow.
warms my heart. It
I
Wow.
warms
know.
my heart.
It
I
is
can't
amazing.
wait to meet your husband.
Yes, I can't wait for you to too. He
I
got
know.
because he was there up there. He went to USA, then to Viacom, then all in New York, and then got a promotion that took him out here to LA.
Mm,
Yeah,
Amazing, amazing
yeah.
story.
Wow.
yeah.
Very cool.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's really good. That's why I wanted to wait to tell you
I
because I'm like
know.
because it's so random, like spilling the coffee. Like it's like something you'd see in a movie. It's like a
What?
rom-com.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
rom-com.
Yeah.
My dad and your husband are stars of a rom-com.
Yes. Yes. I know. Yes, I
Cue the
love it.
montage.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Marie, we know you as a promo voice and a trailer voice, and we haven't delved even into that world a little bit.
I'm so
And
excited.
women don't find themselves there very often. How did
Yeah.
you find yourself in trailers and
I
promo?
mean, to throw this out there, even men, a lot of
Mm,
men don't find themselves there, right? So it's
that's
even
right.
smaller for women. I, when I took one of my first classes, I remember it was at Kalmanson, and I took several there. I had some great teachers there, and it was a great start for me in learning all the things. But I remember in the beginning, sort of getting the rundown, talking about the different genres. Like there's animation classes, there's commercial classes, there's promo, but promo is generally like a male industry, voiceover industry, and even then they were like it's kind of like there's five guys doing it because at that time it was really
Mm,
like just a handful of men doing all of the
right.
spots, right? So I just took note of that. I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't really need to worry about that. Okay. I'm gonna do these other things. So I got into commercial and video games, of course, because that's where my start was. And then as I went through, um, I'm trying to think of what got me to decide. I don't know. I really don't know if it's like a subconscious part of me that's because again, I was also in the physics department of one of
Mm,
two females in that. And I don't know if there's some part of me that's like, I want to try this challenge and see if I can. They said that I can't do that, so let me just see. And
right.
so there's part of that. And Jeff Howell is a good friend. Greg and I met him boxing, coincidentally, at this
What?
boxing gym. And
What?
he actually is the one that introduced me to the team at Atlas many moons ago.
Oh,
Okay.
He was like, he had
Okay.
me come read at a certain point. We'd only known each other from boxing. He's like, come in and read for me. And he's like, I think you should look into another agency. I was like, well, I don't know. Bottom of the totem pole somewhere. And of course, obviously the rest, because I've been with Atlas ever since. It's been like 10 years. Anyway, he and I started working on some promo reads together because I told him I wanted
mm,
to try it out. And I remember at first it's a different muscle. And I felt like I had to work it really hard. And I think I was going over the top and doing too much. And then what got me my real start, I did know I met a couple people at Viacom that got me a couple spots, which was great. And then I had an audition through Heather at Atlas for an upfront for Sundance
Oh,
Channel.
sure.
And they're given their whole list of da, 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 and Alicia Biggs was the name of the producer, and she and I just hit it off. We just really enjoyed, and just obviously only listening to each other, hearing each other on the headset, and we just loved our sessions together. We just really enjoyed
mm,
each other.
mm-hmm,
And we got through it and she was really happy with everything. And she's like, I'm going to spread the word to all the producers here that they should start using
Oh,
you for stuff, which was amazing. And they did. And I worked there for a few years doing until they decided to come in and I think they revamped everything and then they wanted for a while there they wanted only a male voiceover.
mm-hmm,
And I was like, look, I get it. Things change. Don't even think if somebody messaged to tell Heather, hey, we're so sorry, da da da, we love Maureen. I'm like, this is what happens. The fact
mm-hmm.
that they even messaged was very kind. They didn't even have to do that, right? So And then I came back in another time and they're like, oh, we're so glad to have you back. And so that was sort of my start. But from there, I was able to get my footing. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
The dog is so cute. Okay, keep going,
They're
keep
big.
going.
He's 17, a 17-year-old pit,
Oh,
Oh,
and he is just moving slow, and Greg must be outside. And he's at the door and
oh,
he's
he
like,
wants
you're
to be
outside
with
and I'm
them.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
these are my favorite breeds.
If he keeps going, I'll have to go and let him out or something. I can't believe Greg is letting him out. So, anyway, that basically got me into that world
Mm,
where I was working consistently, and also because I was working on different shows, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to, and then getting auditions as well, sort of feel my way around, right? And
mhm,
realize like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and this is how I'm going to do this one, and kind of just getting the musicality for it and the confidence in it. And then
yeah.
things evolved, and then I got started working with my manager, Jason
Mm,
Marks,
mhm,
and then they brought a whole different world of opportunities my way,
right.
and then brought in
Wow.
trailer, right? That was
Right.
my first dabble in trailer. And I remember at first I was reading them more like promos, but I had never experienced. I hadn't taken any
Mhm,
classes. So then they were like,
mm,
I asked them, I said, what should I do? Do you think I should coach for this? They said, sure, if you want to, Richard Redfield's a great coach. You should go coach with him. So I did. So I did a private coaching session. I did more than one of those. And I felt like I started getting that. And then just listening, right? I just
mhm,
started listening. I listened to the cadence and the whatever of promos of trailers and myself. Whenever I hear them, even as a kid, I remember I used to sort of mock people in commercials, like
mhm,
Yes.
not to be mean, but like, "Da, da, da," like I don't know, just to try to
Yes.
say how
mhm,
they said it. And I and I sort of started to hone that in, and then it was women talking. No, I did the Lightyear spot, um, which was so much fun. That was a really cool spot. And then the women talking was really the first trailer campaign
Wow.
that I did, and that was a big deal. And I remember when I first started working with them, they said, "Hey, there's still a chance that they're talking about maybe having a male voiceover on this." And I understand from a studio perspective, they're
mhm,
Sure.
fearful of how things test, and
mhm,
the general population especially in the US, has really only ever heard the big, deep, world
yeah.
male VO for trailers, especially. Promo starting to change a little bit, but and so but luckily, it turned out that they kept, I mean, look, women talking, just the whole
Right.
point of that show
Right.
is just so intensely like female strength and driven. So I was so grateful and so excited when they were nominated for the Oscar, and then so excited when they won the Oscar. And so it was a really cool one. And then it sort of, things have come from there where I've been able to work in some other things. But that was, yeah, it's been, over the span of a few years. I feel like everything just sort of, you keep your head down and keep
Building.
going, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, wait, I've accomplished this.
You do
Yeah.
make it sound really easy, Marie, I must say.
I know. I think it's because when you're saying it all
Pull on
like
your
that, you're like,
cigarette
oh, if
there.
you actually compile the many years of
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing everything.
Yeah.
It's
So what I hear back, and let me know if I'm wrong, is it's a lot of relationship building through the
Mhm,
industry.
yeah.
Doing the
Hmm.
work, putting
Hmm.
the work in, the training, of course, and the talent, but also the relationships.
Yeah.
yeah.
That is a big key, and having the right agents and managers. Right.
Mhm,
Yes.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm fortunate that I'm with Atlas, who is one of only a handful of agencies that really do have a great promo department. And
Hmm.
then obviously being with a manager that really has
mhm.
that. Like I'm able to get the opportunities, and I'm very aware of that. I
Did
Yeah.
know that, oh
Atlas
my gosh,
encourage you to go to to get a manager, or is
they
that something you just do on your own? Is a manager real agent thing okay? Like, what's the dynamic there?
so at first it was definitely, and now it's, let's see, it's been 5 years that I've been with them. And I remember the conversation at first. I think that they had just started being more open to it, uh,
Yeah.
Mhm,
to the manager agent relationship. I mean, look, at the end of the day, agents and managers are as strong as their relationships with their
Hmm.
mhm,
buyers, right?
mhm,
Right.
And I think there's was some fear of, hey, now these relationships are not going to get passed on to these managers. you know,
Mhm. Right.
See.
now they're going to have the account. I don't, even though um, they'll either way, they both make the percentage, but your manager is going to have clients from other agencies too. I don't know. There was definitely some of that in there, but they had just gone through an ordeal with a couple of other voiceover talent
Mhm.
who wanted to sign with the manager, and it was an ordeal. So I think they learned like, okay, we gotta be more open about
Okay.
that. And so they were, but
Okay,
I remember
good.
having some conversations.
Good.
And I remember one of them also saying, like, because I also wasn't sure. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen if I
Right.
sign with a manager. What if I am not booking? What if I don't book anything? And so, I'm paying on both sides. I have no idea how it's gonna go.
Mhm.
And so then there was also um someone said to me, well, you can also ask if they'll hip pocket you just try it out for a little bit. So I thought
Mhm.
about that and I was like, you know what? They want to sign me and I know how great they are and I know what kind of reputation they are. If I'm half in, I feel like they will feel
Oh.
like they're half in. And so
Mhm.
I was like, no, I'm gonna we're in, I'm excited. We're gonna see how it goes. Worst case scenario, it's a year contract, right? It's like,
Mhm.
and
Right.
honestly,
Right.
And
it
What
so
was.
did he find you? Did they find you the management team or?
So, Deb Harada and I
Mhm.
were hanging out at Promax. We'd hung out for a couple of days, and she and I are both with Atlas. And she was talking to me about her manager, who is Jason Marks. And because I asked her some questions, I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know when I'm ready for that. And what do you think about the different managers? And she's like, I would really like to introduce you to them. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm totally ready for that. Oh my gosh, there's been multiple times in my life where I've been like, I don't know. And thank
Mhm.
God I just like go with it. And thank God people have just grabbed me and been like,
Encouraged
all right,
you.
come on. So, and that's what she did. She's like, no, 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 you are ready. And she walked me over and I met them and they were lovely. And then they reached out to
Mm.
like Mike Brang and Bo Stevenson who knew me and they had kind words to say. And then
Aw.
they met up with me and they asked about some of the stuff. They asked me what I'd worked on. And I was like, well, I've done quite a bit for Sundance and AMC. Um, but that was, which was great, but that was kind of where it was at that point. And so then we had a meeting and they're like, well, we'd love to officially sign you. And, so, but it was definitely another talent making that relationship
Right.
for
Amazing.
me at that time.
Relationships, relationships, relationships. I
Except you
have
make
one
it
more.
sound really easy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We have I have another question for you, and you kind of covered this earlier in the week, but I want you to repeat it again. Talk to us about the difference in a vocal performance between a trailer and a promo, because you said you had started doing trailer auditions, sort of like you did a promo. Like, what is the subtle
Yeah.
difference? Tell us a little bit about that difference.
So promo reads definitely have a bigger dynamic and shift. You can
Mhm.
really, I mean, there still can be a cadence to them, or there can't be. You can really be kind of wacky in some. I've heard some promos that are definitely out there, for a specific show or something. And then you have the basic promo reads, right? But then you want to also do the reads that apply to your genre, like the intense ones for drama or crime or something. And then like have it, you have that. But I would say that it's more like this, where
Mhm.
trailer is a lot more flat. Da-na-na, na-na, you know what I mean? It's barely moving and you have to
Mhm.
end things in a much flatter way and it certainly takes being able to hear it
Mhm.
Yes.
and then practice it and then just keep practicing it
Right.
and knowing that you have to there's certain words in those scripts, both promo and trailer, that you really have to, like I say, like chew on, that you have to emphasize and you can tell the
Mhm.
Yeah.
ones. And then once you start listening to those, like critics and audiences, you have to really chew on the blah blah blah, the quotes. Bam,
Yeah.
bam. You can see them in now in my mind, like we were talking about with this workshop with Richard. It's you can literally in your mind, I can see when the words going up. This is what they said.
Mm.
Bam, bam,
Unbelievable.
bam.
Right.
Yeah, and you just sort of read it that way. But anyway,
Mhm.
I've kind of carried on into a different category. But yeah, basically
Yeah.
the trailer reads are traditionally a lot flatter,
A lot
Right.
flatter.
a
A
lot
lot flatter.
flatter. Yeah.
Wow.
But it
Wow.
doesn't mean that but they also have their own intensities, depending on if they're a comedy or they're or a drama, it's going to be a
Mhm.
shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Amazing.
So
Okay,
cool.
so you're such an inspiration. We are now walking
Oh,
on
thank
air,
you.
leaving leaving
Oh
this
my gosh, thank you. It's
interview.
hard to like even take that in because I feel like I'm still trying, right, to just figure out how to get somewhere. And I have a coach that I work with, like a life coach, and he's really fantastic because we set goals,
Mm,
we set the ways to attain those goals, and I'll be so busy sort of just doing my thing that
mhm,
I'll not even realize I've reached them.
Oh,
He
mm,
has them written down, and so all of a sudden I'll say, wait a second. He just did this. He's like, wait, if I'm not mistaken, now you could tell me if I'm right or wrong. He's very good about like, it seems like you've reached your goal of being the voice of a network because it was a different sort of situation because I'm going to be voicing for Bloomberg Network, which is
oh,
mhm.
amazing.
wonderful.
But I just sort of I forgot that I don't look back on my goals sometimes. I know what they are ultimately, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And you did that to me last year too. It's like, wait, you did this, and this was on your goal. Oh yeah. So it's nice to
Yeah.
have that person that points out the things because I think that
Yeah.
when you're pushing through, it's easy to not see your own accomplishments. It's very easy to say, well, but I'm still not there. I still have to go here. And
Mm,
it's really nice to have somebody point that out. And he said it particularly, he's talked about how people that do accomplish things really need to take the time to celebrate it if you want
right.
to keep going. Otherwise, it's just
That's
kind of you're working, 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 and there's no payoff. Ultimately, I mean, there's a payoff. Obviously, you're doing these things you want to do, but you need to acknowledge those things. I think that's really
Right.
important.
I think that's a good mantra for everyone. Is mantra or a good thought for everyone to have is go back at the end of the year and see what, or the end of the week, if that's too far out, and see what you've
Yeah,
accomplished.
yeah,
Yeah.
Check back in with yourself. Give yourself the kudos that you need,
yeah. Yep, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah, I
It's
think
easy
that's
for
a
us to skip
oh,
that.
I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't book this. I didn't do this. Yeah, but what did you book? What
Yeah.
did you do?
What did you
What
do?
what relationship did you form?
Right.
Who did you connect on with LinkedIn for somebody who works in a lot of corporate stuff? Who did you
Yeah.
connect with this week, Kim?
Well,
It's
you made it
important.
sound so easeful. Maybe that too. I mean, it hasn't come easily because you work for it, but some of the steps are easeful and
Yeah.
you don't even know how good you are, Marie, I think.
I know.
Thank you.
I am.
Well,
You're very
seriously,
humble.
thank you so much. I thank you. I can't even thank you guys enough for saying just for your kindness because it does feel like I'm working and I'm trying to do better and I have. I go back and I know where I was and where I've come and I've had to work
Mm,
at things. I feel like I have always had a musical ear. My dad
mm,
was a musician, has a very music, he could always play by ear. And I feel like I sort of picked up some of those things where I could
right.
hear those nuances and which makes it fun, right? And then the on-camera stuff lends itself to all of it, but also when I'm doing character work, I get to
Right.
Right.
really bring that in. I get to be whoever I want, and it's
Right.
the best. It's the
Yeah.
best.
Right.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inspiring us. We're absolutely delighted that you said yes to being
Oh
on
my
our
God, are you kidding me?
show.
Thank you for so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
This is
We're so
amazing.
happy.
Sitting here
Cheers.
chatting with you.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Mm.
This episode of Speechless is brought to you by
Bidalgo. What is it? It's one of our favorite online casting platforms.
Why? Because it's easy. Because we can be booked directly and we can set our own rates.
Clients directly negotiate with us, and Bidalgo does not charge commission fees.
Commercials, corporate, podcasts, audiobooks, e-learning, and more.
Professional.
Award-winning casting.
Outstanding results.
We recommend.
Are you a completely overwhelmed VO who needs to get some tasks off your plate?
Need a second job but don't want to leave the industry?
Well, we've got you both covered. Welcome to VA for VO.
Hi, I'm Miranda Ellis.
And I'm Bridget Reel.
And I'm Lynn Norris, and we are VA for VO, the ultimate voiceover outsourcing resource.
We connect voice actors who need to outsource aspects of their VO business
To VO adjacent specialists.
So if you need help or have skills to offer, come talk to us.
We offer education, connection, and community.
We'd love for you to be a part of it.
Visit vaforvo.com to learn more.
Hey, did you know that the very first newsletter in our industry still exists today?
I did. It's called VoiceOver Extra.
Mhm. It's got daily announcements, it's got career building advice, it's got products, opportunities.
Tons of articles, tons of
Yes.
webinars to purchase.
Yes, and we're going to be extra, so extra, and tell you to sign up for VoiceOver Extra. Tell them how.
You go to voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com. The VoiceOver Resource Guide. What is the VoiceOver Resource Guide?
It's an incredible networking tool. Not only that, but it's also the industry's oldest publication since, drumroll please, 1988.
Sounded like a cat. The publication comes out twice a year and now covers LA and New York and Chicago.
And there's also a free online version called thevorg.net.
Right. Here you can find recording studios, casting services, agents, rates, demo production, events, and so much more, and has the most up-to-date map search.
That's pretty cool. You can pick up your very own publication in various locations across the United States, or just go to thevorg.net and get one shipped right to you.
Speechless.